G'day mates, and welcome back to Aussie Oddities. Today, we're diving deep into one of Australia's most bizarre and enduring mysteries, a cold case that has baffled detectives, cryptographers and armchair sleuths for over 70 years. We're talking about the enigma of the Somerton Man, an unidentified man found dead on a quiet Adelaide beach, leaving behind only cryptic clues and unanswered questions. Who was he? How did he die? And what on earth does the Persian phrase found in his pocket mean, Tamam Shud? Brace yourselves, because this story is a proper puzzle, full of dead ends, secret codes, and twists that feel straight out of a Cold War spy thriller. It all began on the morning of December 1st, 1948. The sun was rising over Somerton Beach, a peaceful stretch of sand south of Adelaide, South Australia. Early morning beachgoers stumbled upon something unusual. A man, well dressed in a suit and tie, slumped against the seawall. But he wasn't sleeping. He was dead. Strangely, there were no signs of a struggle. His clothes were neat despite being on the sand. A half-smoked cigarette rested on his collar, some reports say behind his ear. No wallet, no ID, nothing to identify him. Just an unknown man frozen in time on an Australian beach. Alright, before we get into the absolutely mind-bending recent developments that have shaken this Australian cold case to its core, if you're finding this mystery as gripping as a croc on a tourist, do us a solid, eh? Hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and chuck a comment down below with your wildest Somerton Man theory. Good on ya! It really helps the channel out, and we love hearing from you, mob! And things only got weirder. The labels on his clothes had been meticulously removed. Who does that, and why? The police were called, and the mystery of the Somerton Man had just begun. The autopsy raised more questions than answers. The pathologist, Dr. John Dwyer, determined the man was about 45 years old, in peak physical condition, good teeth, well-developed calf muscles, like a dancer or athlete. But the cause of death? That's where the mystery deepens. The official report noted congestion in the stomach, an enlarged spleen, and a damaged liver. The immediate suspicion was poisoning. But here's the kicker. No known poison was found in his system. Dr. Dwyer speculated about a fast-acting, hard-to-detect poison, perhaps dijamis or strophanthin, which could cause heart failure and decompose quickly in the body. But it was just a theory. Officially, to this day, the exact cause of the Somerton Man's death remains one of the case's biggest enigmas. Was he poisoned? If so, by whom and why? Months later, in January 1949, a brown suitcase was found checked into the luggage room at the Adelaide railway station. Turns out, it was believed to belong to our mystery man. Inside, more clothes with labels removed, a stencil and kit used for marking names on clothing, a sharpened knife, and other peculiar items, but still nothing to identify him. But the most famous clue came from a small fob pocket sewn into his trousers. A tiny, rolled-up piece of paper printed with just two words, Tamam Shud. Nobody knew what it meant until a librarian identified the phrase as Persian, meaning ended or finished. But where did this scrap come from? It was torn from the final page of a rare edition of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a collection of Persian poems. Police put out a public appeal, and eventually a man came forward with the exact copy of the book from which the Tamam Shud piece had been ripped. He'd found it tossed onto the back seat of his car, which had been parked near Somerton Beach around the time of the death. And inside this book, another layer of mystery was uncovered. An indecipherable code, scribbled in pencil on the back cover. 5 lines of seemingly random capital letters. WRGOABAD MLIOIWTIMPANET, MLIOAIQ, ITTM, SMSTGAB. Military cryptographers, amateurs, experts, no one could conclusively crack this Somerton code for decades. Was it a secret message, a spy cipher, or just meaningless scribbles? And the book yielded one more clue, a phone number. That number led police to a young nurse living near Somerton Beach, known at the time only as Jestyn. Her real name was Jessica Thomson. When shown the plaster cast of the Somerton man's face, she was visibly disturbed, almost fainted, but denied knowing him or anything about the case. However, she did admit to once owning a copy of the Rubaiyat and giving it to an army lieutenant named Alfred Boxall during World War II. For a while, police thought the Somerton man was Boxall, but he was found alive and well and still had the copy of the Rubaiyat Jestyn had given him, complete with the Tamam Shud page intact. So, who was the man on the beach, and what was Jestyn's connection to him? With so many strange clues and few concrete answers, theories about the Somerton man flourished over the years. The espionage theory. The timing was the dawn of the Cold War. Australia had secret rocket ranges, Woomera. The unbreakable code, the possible poisoning, the removed labels, it all screamed silenced spy or an operation gone wrong. The jilted lover theory. Was he perhaps a lover rejected by Jestyn? Could Tamam Shud, it is ended, be a poetic suicide note? But why all the secrecy and the labelless clothes? Other theories. Smuggling, organized crime, mistaken identity, the list goes on. The case became a national and international obsession, one of Australia's greatest unsolved mysteries. For decades, the mystery remained frozen, but modern forensic science offered new hope. In 2021, after years of campaigning led by Professor Derek Abbott from the University of Adelaide, who, in a strange twist, married Jestyn's granddaughter, the Somerton man's body was exhumed for DNA analysis. And in July 2022, Abbott, working with renowned American genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick, announced a bombshell. Using DNA analysis from hairs trapped in the plaster cast and extensive genealogical research, they had identified the Somerton man as Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne, born in 1905. Webb was reportedly a quiet man, liked poetry, which might explain the Rubaiyat, but had also separated from his wife and was, by some accounts, going through a rough patch. He had disappeared from Melbourne in 1947. So, case closed? Well, sort of. The identification of Carl Charles Webb answers the who was he question, but so many others remain. Why was he in Adelaide? Why were his clothing labels removed? What did the code mean? Was it even a code? What was his actual connection to Jestyn, Jessica Thomson, who passed away in 2007? And the big one, how did he die? The identification doesn't solve the suspected poisoning mystery. The Somerton police haven't yet officially confirmed Webb's identification, pending their own DNA results from the exhumation. But the evidence presented by Abbott and Fitzpatrick is considered very strong by many. The case of the Somerton Man, or Carl Webb as we might now call him, is a fascinating reminder of how a single event can spark decades of intrigue. It's a story of lost identity, buried secrets, the tenacity of investigation, and the power of modern science to unearth long-hidden truths. Even with a name, the enigma lingers. Was he a spy, a heartbroken lover, or just an ordinary man caught in extraordinary circumstances? What do you reckon, mates? Leave your theories down in the comments. What Aussie mystery should we tackle next? Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this trip into Australia's mysterious past, and subscribe to Aussie Oddities for more bizarre and unexplained stories from down under. Catch you later!